everybody, welcome back to my studio. This is Emma and a very warm welcome to you. If it's your very first time here, it's lovely to have you sharing this space with me. Well, almost sharing this space with me. If I could have you all in here with me, that would be just so much fun. But it might be a bit crowded now because I seem to have a lot of subscribers, which to me is just amazing. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's wonderful to have you here. It's wonderful to be supported in this way because I feel like you're all kind of supporting my work that I'm doing here. I love to share it with you, and if I inspire one person to go off and do something of your own, that's just absolutely fabulous. I just love it. I used to teach workshops one-to-one and in little groups, but this to me is just so nice because I'm spreading you know, my little things that I'm doing here are getting spread much further around in the world, and perhaps bringing a bit of pleasure to you, a bit of joy, a bit of relaxation, and a bit of inspiration to, as I say, have a go yourself, or perhaps do something a bit differently that you've never thought of doing. You know, something just triggers you to get going with something different, and I think that's wonderful. So what have I been up to? Well, it's been a lovely weekend actually. The frost and cold stuff has gone and I was able to get out and do stuff outdoors, which was great. My husband's cutting his willow now. It's willow harvesting season here, and so it's lovely. I love watching him. It's amazing. He's got all of these great big willow mini trees. I suppose you call them little trees because he cuts it every year so they never get huge. And he's there and he's so happy and he spends hours just snipping away at this stuff, and I just love watching him. It's very lovely that we can all be outside in the fresh air, in nature and in amongst everything. So I was mucking out me chickens at the weekend, and that again is such a pleasure. It seems like a horrible job. You might think, oh, that's a horrible job, very smelly, but it's not really because there's only 6 of them. And they have a little tiny house, and it takes me a very short time to do, and then I put in all this lovely new fresh bedding, and they have fresh sort of I put down sawdust stuff, not sawdust but like flakes of shavings, wooden shavings from, you know, leftovers, and they get some hay, fresh hay as well. I don't tell the donkeys though that I'm giving it to them for bedding, but it smells so nice, and I think, oh, when I took them up at night it must be so nice for them to go in, it's all fresh and clean. So that's what I was doing at the weekend mostly, a little walk here and a little bit of this and that done, and now I'm back in here. I'm super excited because I think we're really getting somewhere now with this piece. It's changed, it keeps changing. You know, I think this is a nice thing if you let things just sort of simmer away quietly. Don't push them, don't shove them, just let them kind of sit there and you go away and think about other things, and then you come back to it with a fresh eye and different things can come up to do. So I think that's what we're going to get on with next. I'll show you where I'm up to and we'll take it from there. So what I've done so far is cut a nice long strip of this gorgeous brown colour. It's absolutely lovely, and I'm just going to kind of pin it on here onto the calico. I'm leaving enough that we can turn it over at the top. Whatever I do with the edges, I'm going to turn these over. I feel that's important for this particular bit, and I'm just going to pin it loosely onto the calico, and then I will stick it under the embellisher and get that held in place. And I'm just going to put another layer of a colour along there, so then at least the calico is completely covered. So say if I had a piece like this, then I know what I'm dealing with, and then I can start to add all the other smaller colours in, and that gives me some kind of base to work from. What I've done so far is I've embellished 2 simple strips of brown, slightly different shades, and you can see on the back that's pushed the fabric through, and anywhere it got a bit crinkled, sometimes the top fabric pulls the bottom fabric up quite a bit, it kind of gathers it in. So what I do is I then just pull it off and re-embellish it down so that it doesn't pull the bottom fabric. Now along this end I'm going to show you something funny. This is where I didn't quite have enough fabric to get right to the end, and this is what I love about working with fabric, is you can bodge to your heart's content. You can cut things off, you can add things on, and especially with an embellishing machine. So what I've done here is I've just added 2 strips on. You can see the line there, I think, and I've kind of made it mountainy shape so that it kind of blends in rather than doing an abrupt cover-up job, if you like. And the beautiful thing is then, if I have other pieces of fabric, I can just pop them on top, you know, different pieces, can go on in different places, perhaps that there, and you know, instantly that has disappeared and nobody will be any the wiser. I've pinned the front on now, and what I need to do is turn it over, and I want to get onto the back. Let's turn this over. I want to get onto the back my piece of stitch and tear that I've pre-cut to roughly the right sort of shape and size, and I'm now thinking about my edges. So I'm thinking I was just going to the sewing machine. I've realised I need to think about my edges, so I need to get these folded down onto here, and then I'll be able to stitch, and that'll be much better. But I need to sort of have things anchored. I'm trying to anchor things without knowing exactly how it's going to be. Okay, so I've done a lot of fiddling around with this piece. I've put a lot of extra bits of fabrics on, but I'm just not entirely sure that I'm happy with it. It feels very kind of busy. Now obviously I haven't got it all embellished down. I've just pinned things on to see what they look like. I've got my top edge turned in now, so that means that at least I know what size I'm working to up there, because obviously I've got to bear in mind what size it's going to end up. So down here, you know, that'll end up like that sort of size. So I have to bear that in mind, but I'm just not sure whether I'm going to be brave enough and just take it all off and just start embellishing things on and just see how that goes, because really this is the danger of doing a sample. It's a really good idea to do a sample, but sometimes it's kind of a dangerous thing in a way, because you make this sample and you love it so much and you want this to look like this. But the way you did that was so carefree, because you weren't trying to make it a thing. It was totally carefree. I literally just took pieces of fabric and scopped them on there and embellished them and stitched them. And there was total freedom in that. So I think in a way, what I want to do is get back to this with this, because I feel like I'm making this lovely composition, but it's just not sitting right with me. So I'm going to be very brave, and I'm actually going to take everything off that I've got on here. And you'll think, gosh, she's bonkers. She's completely lost it now, but I just feel it's too busy, it's too composed, it's too, I don't know, too something. And so I'm just going to take them all off, and I'll have them handy, and I'm just going to get embellishing and see what I can come up with. So we'll see how that goes. It could be a total disaster, and this feels really scary to do this. It's like I want to hang on to this because this is what I know. It's a bit like life, isn't it? We always want to hang on to what we know, and we're scared to go into the unknown. And I feel like, actually, if ever there was a time for jumping into the unknown or tiptoeing into it, it doesn't have to be a big wild jump, I feel as though this is it. And this is kind of a metaphor. It's almost a metaphor for where I am in my life at the moment, in a way. We're all leaving the unknown. We're all leaving I think we're all kind of shifting out of what we've known, and we're moving into the unknown. So, oh, look at that, a blank canvas again, just about. So I'm going to start with my embellisher, and I'm just going to play like I did with the first bit, because I think that went so nicely, because I didn't think so much about what I was doing. I just put things on. Right, okay, this is scary. Now I'm going to do it. So there we go, I've stripped it right back. It seems excessively crazy, but I just think it needs to be out of my control. I'm trying to control it, doing it this way. So I've got a huge pile now. I'll just show you my big pile. I've got a big pile over here of all the bits that I've taken off, and I'm just going to sit at my embellisher and put some pieces on, and we'll just see what happens. I'm just going to be very daring. It's really scary, but I'm going to give it a go, and it could be a total disaster, but if it's a total disaster, I will have learned something, and I will have let go of that control thing that just says, it's my head is trying to make it into a thing. And as I say, this piece I just did, and I didn't think about it, and I let the stitching happen, and I let the fabrics come. So let's go for it. So I've put one piece of grey linen down so far, and now I've taken some of this organza, and this piece wants to go here. And initially I wasn't going to embellish this fabric, but turns out I am. And I'm not thinking about it, I'm not worrying about it, I'm just doing it. Now, that piece like to go there. I think I'm mad talking to my fabrics, but you know, this piece like to go here, this piece like to go there, this piece like to go up here. No. So you can hear this is quite thick fabric, it's a linen fabric, so I'm just taking it really slowly because I know my needles will find it a bit more challenging than just these softer fabrics. I think one of the things I felt when I had all of those fabrics covering this was I'd lost the brown, and I think the brown was really important to be able to see the brown seemed to be really important. So I've got a piece of the green stuff now. I've just basically put pieces on and I'm not thinking about it. I'm just asking each piece if it wants to go where it wants to go. You know, I'm just sort of tuning into my fabrics and I'm just letting it happen. I'm not trying to control it. And I'm not even stepping back and looking at it. I'm just going to work with it under the machine and see what I come up with, which is really exciting. It's a completely different way of working and I'm really excited by it because it's like I'm just not in charge of it. I'm working intuitively with it and I'm listening to what feels right to go where. And there's no right or wrong. I don't mean right as in it has to go there. It's just what feels right in that moment, and we'll just see what comes out. It's all quite exciting and scary. So I'm not letting it be a complete free-for-all in that I have to have some semblance of pattern, if you like, or an order to do things in. So I'm just gently working from the top down and we'll see what ends up down at the bottom, and it's simplifying it. Already I feel as though it's much simpler. There was so much going on it before, it was just too busy and it was going to fight with the cover. So this is really simplifying it, and what I'll do is I'll carry on embellishing and then I'll show you it when I've got to the stage where I think that's it for the embellishing. Watch this space. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of try and slide this past you slowly so you get a feeling for what it looks like now. Now, personally, when I'm looking at this now, I just feel as though it's all calmed down by simplifying it, by working with each piece of fabric one at a time, letting the fabrics kind of tell me what they want to do, where they want to be. It's calmed down so much more. It was so busy, it was kind of unsettling how it was before, and this is lovely now because I can just do some stitching into it. I feel as though we might do some vertical pieces into it to give some interest at some point, but I'm not sure where that's, how that's going to be or what it's going to manifest. How that's going to manifest, I don't know. So what I'm going to do next is, I've left this raw edge down here because I'm going to leave that till the last because I want to stitch from the top down, and I'm going to go to my sewing machine next and just start some stitching. So I hope you like that. Personally I think that's an awful lot better than it was, and we'll just take it over to the sewing machine and see where we get to, what that brings to the mix. So basically what I've done is I've put a nice dark brown thread into my top bobbin, and I'm just going to make some landscapey sort of marks. This is where I think drawing is really helpful. If you go out and draw a hillside and you play with the sort of marks that you see and you look at them, they're just sort of lots of lines and shapes, and it's quite free, and I love doing this with my machine. I just love just going around just doing it's more wiggly waggly lines basically, and it just ends up kind of looking landscapey. So I'm going to do that now. So I appreciate this is probably not very exciting to watch, so I'm going to just carry on, get it done, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished.
ba 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 ba